We're all teenagers. They were in the band. On stage, we were teenagers in the crowd. And, at the time, Metallica were doing Diamond Head covers. One of those bands we didn't think anybody else knew about. And when they launched into the Prince, that's where the bond with that band and the Bay Area happened. If you know that band, you're a brother. That was the switch.
Yeah, I remember that first show, seeing fans that didn't care what they looked like. I mean, they had cut-off denims and stuff. They didn't care. And they were at the front of the stage headbanging because the music did that for them. They weren't gathered around the bar scene or anything. They were there for the music.
I think we had a much different relationship with our fans because, we were salt of the earth.
Metallica came up to the Bay Area to play at the old Waldorf, and I remember watching them thinking, fucking pretty cool. And then Lars Rocket came on and played for literally 25 people. And that said a lot to me. It said a lot to Bailoff, it said a lot to everyone in Exodus. We're like, okay, all right, we know what's working here and we know what's not.
Yeah, so Metallica, I first got hip to them through the demo. So shortly after that, the band I was playing with at the time, Lars Rocket, were playing a show together. They were playing before us. Mistake.
Something about Metallica, they had that special, that kick. And, they got that extra boost of adrenaline that I think made everyone step up their game. Everyone.
And then we played a show the next day, and it was a benefit for Metal Mania. And it was kind of a hodgepodge thing that was put together in 24 hours. They needed to find bands. They had got Metallica. They asked us to open, and we said, sure, we'll open the show. This is at the Mabuhay Gardens. We played our show, then Metallica came on, and they played, and they were just fantastic. And that's when I first met James, and that's when I first met Lars. It's funny because it was a window into things to come in my future, because as I was talking to Lars, he got undressed and changed right in front of me, and I was like, wow, why is this guy doing it? And then I realized, oh, this is what European people do. Because, I lived in the East Bay. All I had to contend with was rednecks everywhere,
Metallica's legendary demo cassette, No Life Til Leather, was recorded in the summer of 1982. It immediately became a staple of the tape-trading underground and established the band as a force to be reckoned with.
First, we did a 4-song demo called Power Metal, and then the infamous No Life Til Leather tape came a couple months after. I just started sending it to all the same people that I'd been trading some of this other underground metal stuff with, like the KJ Doughtons of the world.
Oh my God, this tape is amazing. It just crushes. It's unbelievable. They've come so far. And I sent Brian the first Metallica demo, and I think that's the first taste he got of it.
While working at the club, one of my coworkers had started to do a Monday night event called Metal Monday. And these bands that later became thrash were presented. And it was clear this was a new direction.
Attendance on a Tuesday morning in any of the high schools across the Bay Area was pretty poor. I can attest to that because a lot of us were still in high school.
The Bay Area people were so loyal to their bands that if they didn't like the band, they would actually turn their backs on the band while they were playing.
There was a band called Hans Naughty, and they were based in San Francisco, but with a very much a Los Angeles Sunset Strip aesthetic, and they were on the bill with Metallica.
There were fans that had, patches of obviously their favorite bands on and whatnot, and they would show how much they liked the band or didn't like the band.
We might have flipped them off a couple of times, and that got boring, so...
They just quietly turned, and that was, I guess, silent protest. It got across that, hey, you're not a favorite band, and we're waiting for this one, the one that's on my back patch.
I knew about Cliff Burton from his previous band, Trauma, because Bailoff knew about Trauma. Bailoff had seen Trauma and said, oh, you got to see this band. They have a killer bass player and a killer guitar player.
He said to me one day, he goes, hey, let's, you want to go to San Francisco, see a show at the Stone? What's going on? He goes, well, see this band, Metallica.
Maybe a couple months later, I was talking to Lars. I said, do you know any good bass players out there? And I said, well, there's this band from San Francisco with this amazing bass player named Cliff Burton. I saw them at the Troubadour a while ago, coming down and playing again. You guys should come. So Lars was like, okay, cool. Show happens. Lars and James are there. And I don't know how far into the set, but it was pretty early. Maybe the second or third song, Lars goes to me, that's gonna be our bass player.
Cliff represented the Bay Area. He represented a freedom. He represented a freakness that I didn't know so much growing up in LA.
I went and saw Cliff play with Trauma at the Keystone Berkeley, and it was no secret that the band knew that Cliff was about to be poached from them. That's where Cliff belonged, was in Metallica.
Cliff would be talking to somebody on the phone and just talk. And this went on for, oh, golly, I swear a month. And so finally I said to Janet, who's Cliff talking to on the phone so much? And she said, well, there's a band from Los Angeles that wants him to join them. And Cliff had said, no, I'm not going to go down to LA. He said, I told him, if you guys want me to join your band, you come up to the Bay Area, and by golly, here they did.
Then one day, Bailoff called me up and said, that guy, Cliff Burton, bass player for Trauma, he's in Metallica now. And I said, no fucking way. Then I saw them at the Stone, you know, Cliff's first gig at the Stone, and I was just like,
It was kind of like looking in the mirror. Here's another band playing like kind of what we are, you know, our own stamp on it. But, you know, I remember like just hanging out and getting hammered that night, and we just all kind of said the same thing. It's like kind of found a kindred spirit, you know?
There was a lot of integrity in the metal scene in San Francisco. And, you know, besides going up on the hill by the park and just blasting whatever music we were loving, booze and music, you know, that was our collective. That's where we got to know each other and really feel like we had a family.
Cliff was the one that brought us to the Bay Area. You want me in the band, you gotta come up here.
On December 28th, 1982, Cliff Burton was invited to play in a small house in El Cerrito that would later come to be known as the Metallica Mansion. Part audition, part rehearsal, only a lucky few were there. No audio exists, but fortunately for history, Brian Liu brought his camera and photographed the new band lineup.
At some point, Lars probably called me and said, you know, we're going to be playing with our new bassist. Ron Quintana was there, Rich Birch was there, Ian Callan, who did Metal Mania with Ron, was there. There was a group of maybe 5, 6 of us.
There's this little room in El Cerrito, and that was the living room where Metallica played with Cliff for the first time, and that was it.
Jamming with Cliff for the first time in the living room there, hearing Seek and Destroy, and all of a sudden he's doing some stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is gonna be awesome.
It sort of catapulted Metallica to another level.
In early 1983, Metallica moved from Los Angeles to the Bay Area.
A very short window of time with Mustaine in the band and Cliff in the band. When rehearsing and a few really great shows in the Bay Area.
That was one of the things that you could tell when we play together. When the lights are off and the guitars are roaring, there's some respect.
Just the whole area, being up there, getting Cliff on board, it felt like home.
And then it came time for us to play the show at Stone. We went on, you know, we had a great show. The place was packed. And then Metallica came on. And it was the first time that I'd actually been able to watch the whole show. As I was watching them, I thought, these guys are fucking great. They'd be so much better with me.